Good morning. It's 11:05 a.m. Do you know where your home equity is? Welcome to the Velocity of Money. Here now to answer your questions about real estate, capital, equity, funding, and finance, your host of the Velocity of Money, Michael J. Barnes.
Now, however, I put the colorful title on there just to give, hey, if for no other reason, get people to click on it to get the information, because, frankly, a lot of people were given really bad loans. They were given really bad advice, and sometimes you got to fight back. And here's one of the things. Like I said, I'm gonna try to make this as little with as little complication as possible. And so here's how it comes down. Let's say you bought your house and you got the loan through a mortgage broker. Well, that mortgage broker didn't actually give you the loan. They bought that loan from a wholesaler of mortgages. That wholesaler of mortgages, in turn, bought it from one of these big, huge Wall Street banks, most of which are out of business now.
Important thing to point out, if I may, I know that you're not going to lose your train of thought because this is your work, this is your life's work. Velocity Financial is a mortgage broker. We do get our money from several wholesale banks.
So this entire collapse is your fault, is what you're saying. You're shouldering the blame now.
Just because it's Christmas Eve doesn't mean you can blame me for everything. Dan, I wanted to point that out because we're glad that we're the broker.
Well, I'm glad we're blaming this on Michael now instead of me. So just to continue the analogy here, so the broker buys it from the wholesaler who bought it from the Wall Street bank, and like I said, most of them are out of business now. And what the Wall Street bank does is then they took thousands of these loans worth billions of dollars, and they put them all together into what are known as mortgage-backed securities. And that's this stuff that you hear that Fannie Mae is selling, there's an interest rate put on it, and that kind of stuff. Well, what these mortgage-backed securities happen then is they, in turn, were bought up by other Wall Street banks, combined with other mortgage-backed securities into one big glob that they called collateralized debt obligations. Well, then what these brainiacs on Wall Street decided to do is to chop these collateralized debt obligations up into what are referred to as tranches. So let's say you had your best quality, your AA borrowers were in the top tranche, and your worst, your triple Z borrowers were in the bottom tranche. Each one of them was given a specific interest rate. Each one of them was rated by a bond rating firm. Each one of them was given insurance. Well, what happens is as these got split up and sold off over time, the notes on the mortgages did not go with the debt itself. So CDO over in Bangladesh owns your mortgage now, but here's the problem. They don't have the paperwork. So the reason why I went through this whole story is in case your bank comes to you and says, we're going to foreclose on you, what you want to do is you want to go get yourself an attorney, and you want the attorney to go to this bank and say, okay, great, we want you to prove to us that you have standing, that you have the legal right to be able to come after us and foreclose on you. And here's the thing, if they don't have the paperwork, if they don't have the note on the property, they cannot prove that they have standing. So whether it is the wholesaler who's foreclosing on you, whether it's a servicer, whoever it is, chances are very good that they do not have this note. So again, got a little complicated, but you want to go to the website, mortgageanswerman.com, and there's going to be several articles there. There's going to be a lovely little chart that I drew out, except it'll be much nicer than what I have on this piece of paper. And I'll have all the information there. So I had a friend just recently who was in foreclosure, and she made the phone call, and she says, hey, you can't foreclose on me. Now, eventually it did get foreclosed, but it delayed it for like a month until they were able to find that note. And chances are they may never be able to find that note. And in many states, including Florida and Ohio, they're very successful at using this tactic to at least to stop or completely do away with the foreclosure sale.
So we don't really want to, and Brett, we're going to go to cross this over in the next segment with Brett and talking about the the financial side of these things. We don't necessarily want to encourage people to go down this path, right? We're looking for a stall.
Well, hopefully no one will ever have to get to that point.
Okay.
But if you believe that your your servicer, your mortgage company is not being nice to you, especially if you call them up and you want to do a loan modification and they're dragging their feet and they're filing foreclosure and they're coming after you, well, you got to protect yourself. And this is one of the ways that you can protect yourself, by hiring an attorney and suing them for lack of standing.
Well, and that's one of the things, we're going to cut out to a break here real quick. That's one of the things that Velocity Financial is involved in. We're working with the National Network of Attorneys that do this sort of work. Velocity Financial does not charge an upfront fee for these types of loan modifications that you're essentially talking about. We do hire an attorney. We work with a national network of attorneys to work on your behalf. They do charge a retainer, of course. If they're going to fight for you, they need to be paid. However, there's no upfront fees. To get more information on the loan modification, you would call 480-835-6248. That's 480-VELOCITY, and it's themortgageanswerman.com, correct?
That is correct.
And you can also go to velocityfinancial.com, and there's a link there to Dan Havey's site. And folks, we'll be back with you in just a few moments.